What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country and around the world that you need to know about here on a daily basis. We got some alarming news from Russian President Vladimir Putin and the White House. We'll go over some details here on that in this video, and a nuclear threat to Russia, Ukraine, and potentially the US and other countries. We'll go over that here in this video. And the US government funding in threat as well, as Republicans and Democrats in Congress are basically not agreeing here yet again, and the fate of actually US defense and government programs here at risk as well. I'll let you know what the US Defense Air Force Secretary has to say about that. Multiple different things here for you guys in this video. So let's jump right in. If you're new to our channel or if you haven't yet, make sure to click the subscribe button down below. It's completely free to do so. This way you won't miss out on new videos that come out here on our channel on a daily basis. New videos are every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, thanks so much for liking and sharing these videos. All right, let's jump right in. Okay, Russian President Vladimir Putin gave a speech here, or interview, whatever you want to call it here, says Ukraine war is going to, quote, take a while. Putin says as he warns the nuclear risk is increasing. Let you see some footage here of an excerpt of what he has to say, and then I'll let you hear from some U.S. officials what they said as well. Multiple different things here. So take a listen here and let me know your thoughts.
That Ukraine wants deadly cluster munition warheads from the United States, weapons banned by more than 100 countries, that Ukraine tonight says will change the course of this war. And this comes as Putin tonight personally escalates his nuclear threat.
With regard to the threat of a nuclear war, Svetlana Gennadievna, you are right. The threat is growing, so why hide the truth? Now, regarding whether or not Russia would be the first to use one, no matter what the circumstances may be, well, if it's not the first to use one, then it couldn't be the second to use one, because a nuclear strike on our territory would greatly limit our capabilities.
Putin clearly referring to nuclear ICBMs, not tactical nukes, because it is those ICBMs that Russia and the U.S. have that would cause such damage so as to prevent a country from responding in a second strike. So that's a major threat. And Putin, of course, has the largest stockpile, about 4,200 ICBM nuclear warheads, in addition to his estimated nearly 2,000 tactical nuclear weapons. But Putin is making this threat, coming out and personally doing it with his back pressed firmly up against the wall, because he knows his invasion is not gone according to plan. He also said today, and I quote him, regarding the problem with equipment, as far as I can tell, this has already been sorted out. However, if something else needs our special attention somewhere, of course, I would ask you for more information. Then we will definitely deal with it, and as quickly as possible. An admission of problems with equipment, as soft as that admission may feel to you, for Putin to say this is a big deal. And he is forced to even admit it because of what his soldiers are seeing every day and are now recorded on tape talking about. We've been sharing conversations with you between soldiers and their families, and I want to play this for you. This is a newly obtained call, a recent call, between a Russian soldier and his mother back home. Listen to it.
And people? You have everyone?
Leaving. People are leaving.
Leaving? Like running away?
Yes, running away. What else? 5 days under pouring rain with no sleep.
That's deserting. Watch out.
If they don't let us leave in December, we'll go away too. You just can't imagine. We live in a swamp. Everything is leaking. We have no sleep, no food, nothing.
No sleep, no food, nothing. Time is certainly not on Putin's side.
Now, on the other hand, Putin looks like he's not giving up anytime soon. Putin says Russia may be fighting in Ukraine for a long time. He says that his army could be fighting in Ukraine for a long time, but he saw, quote, no sense in mobilizing additional soldiers at this point. Quote, as for the duration of the special military operation, well, of course, this can be a long process. In a televised meeting of his Human Rights Council that was dominated by the war, Putin said that Russians would, quote, defend ourselves with all the means at our disposal, asserting that Russia was seen in the West as, quote, a second-class country that has no rights to exist at all. He said the risk of nuclear war was growing, the latest in a series of such warnings, but Russia saw its arsenals as a means to retaliate, not to strike first. Putin said, quote, we haven't gone mad. We realize what nuclear weapons are. We have these means in more advanced and modern form than any other nuclear country. But we aren't about to run around the world brandishing this weapon like a razor. However, Russia and Putin consider things like Ukraine fighting back sometimes as an attack on Russia. And when Russia attacked the Crimea Bridge, which actually was part of Ukraine before Russia attacked that and took it back, and also the territory that Russia, claimed just recently with the illegal elections that like 99% of the world, when the United Nations voted that it was illegal, Russia can claim that that is attacks on Russian territory. And they have said that any attacks on Russian territory can be means for any use of force, including nuclear weapons. So literally, Putin has any excuse he wants to at any given time to use nuclear weapons if he so deems. So you guys can let me know your thoughts here. Literally, he could wake up tomorrow morning and say, well, we've had it. This is enough, and pull the trigger if he wanted to. And by all accounts, it looks like he is the sole decision maker. So by a lot of accounts, the world's fate, or at least millions of people's hands and lives, are literally in the hands of this one guy. Yeah, and we see how it's worked out so far for Ukraine. It's not a pretty place to live right now. So let me know your thoughts here in the comments. Putin also said there was no reason to call up more troops after they just called up 300,000 new reservists, and many of which weren't even in the army. They kind of drafted them, a lot of which was against their will because they were drafted and they weren't part of an army. They were basically forced in there. Putin said 150,000 of these were deployed in Ukraine, 77,000 in combat units and the other in defensive functions. The remaining 150,000 were still at training centers. And even with these additional troops, they're still losing ground. And Putin and Russia has confirmed this, even with their latest loss of Kharkiv, the massive city that they've just lost here. So we'll see. But honestly, it looks like this could be going on for a long time. And remember, President Biden and the White House are seeking $40 billion more for defense aid for Ukraine. However, Republicans and leader of the Republicans in the House currently, Kevin McCarthy, are not a big fan of this. However, in the past, all the funding that did go to Ukraine was approved by Republicans and Democrats in Congress. Every single dollar that went to Ukraine had to be approved by Congress. Republicans and Democrats had to approve it. It had to be a majority by both from the House and Senate. So it could be different going forward because Republicans will take over control of the House. So if they all vote unanimously and all the Republicans vote no, they could stop all money going to Ukraine, and Ukraine could be left defenseless, although they are getting support from basically all of Europe as well. But United States is the number one supporter, at least defense-wise. The question is, should Putin be pushed back enough out of the country, which is the way it's looking, could be a while though, to where they lose the war and they have no choice? Who knows how long that could be, if ever? Or should the U.S. abandon everything and say enough is enough? And you let me know your thoughts. Of course, everybody has a different opinion on this type of stuff. Read down below in the comments, and I'm sure you'll see a bunch of different opinions. Meanwhile, the U.S. Congress could punt funding and the government funding into 2023. Mitch McConnell says this is because Republicans, they're going to be taking control of the House, and Kevin McCarthy in the House says that they should wait until 2023, just do a continuing resolution. They shouldn't do it now because they'll have more leverage in 2023. However, the U.S. defense here says the stopgap budget would delay 61 programs and hurt the defense readiness of the United States. They say here a long-term continuing resolution would cost the U.S. Department of the Air Force billions of dollars, delay the launch of 61 programs, and threaten the U.S. Air Force Service's readiness, said U.S. Secretary Frank Kendall in a letter to lawmakers obtained by Defense News. Kendall said that continuing the resolution to fund the Air Force and the Space Force throughout fiscal 2023 would leave the department with as much as $12 billion less than it would have to spend in 2023 if a budget is passed. This would essentially leave funding at 2022 levels as well, and would basically short their budget as well. He urged lawmakers to pass a 2023 budget without any further continuing resolutions or even for a short period. Quote, the longer the Department of Air Force operates under a CR, the greater the impact on our people and programs. I urge you and your colleagues to advance the full year appropriations legislation and as soon as possible. Aircraft readiness and aircrew currency rates would suffer without enough money to fund critical maintenance and flying hours. Now, remember here, this is just coming from the Air Force, let alone the Army, Navy, other branches of defense. And that's just the defense, let alone the other branches of government like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and any branch of government, the IRS, anything you could think of would have likely similar problems. Also, there could be a government shutdown if Republicans and Democrats can't agree to even a CR, continuing resolution. So there's really a lot of different issues here at stake, all over the board, And the other kind of issue here at stake is that do you let Putin, aka Hitler 2.0, run amok over there, who's basically threatened the United States with nuclear war dozens of times? So he literally changes his tune on a weekly basis, and they have personally threatened sending nuclear weapons to the United Kingdom and said nuclear weapons could be there in like 2 minutes. So this is you got to kind of think here. And if anything, we've seen some reports. We've gone over them previously here on the channel. That if anything, this has significantly weakened their army. The amount of troops that they have gone through, they're now calling up reservists and drafting people that aren't even in their army, and they're training people that literally have no experience at all, have never even been in the army. They're drafting people that don't even want to be in the army. So the amount of decimation that their army has taken and morale is, I mean, honestly, they're our number one foe. I mean, if you asked anybody who our number one foe is, they'd probably say Russia, maybe say China, or maybe Iran or something, Iraq or something like that. So, if anything, this has significantly weakened probably our number one enemy in the world. And it's not like we wanted this to happen. Russia just invaded Ukraine. I mean, nobody wanted to do this. Honestly, they did this with Crimea back in 2014, and the world kind of let that one slide. But Crimea was such much. I don't know why the world did that. I mean, you guys could let me know your thoughts on that one. But Ukraine is just a massive, mass. I mean, 45 million people live there. It's a massive country, and Ukraine said, "We're not gonna let it happen. We're fighting back." So Crimea couldn't fight back. So it was a different story. And Ukraine basically said to the world, "Can you help us?" The rest of the world said, yeah. And now, I mean, you look at Europe, Europe's basically cutting themselves off from Russian oil. The United States cut themselves off from Russian oil. It's become a global thing. It's become a global thing. So, and honestly, it's not like we've been friends with Russia. I mean, you think about the Cold War, and this has kind of been going on for a long time. It's not, Putin's really just the next iteration of Russia and the Soviet Union. This has been going on for a long time. So, if anything, this has significantly weakened Russia. We haven't had to put any United States troops at risk like we did in Iraq. You think about Iraq, we were in Iraq for 2 decades, really. I mean, it was called a 20-year war. We had boots on the ground. I mean, with American soldiers, dying there. And in Russia, all we've really done is supply these people who are getting their homes and country invaded with defense weapons. I just seen a recent article. I'm not going to look it up right now, but where they're shooting the majority of missiles down, but not all of them. So it's still like is that a good thing or bad thing? I mean, but really they're just defending their homes. And of course, you've seen the footage where hospitals get hit, apartment building. Imagine if your home got hit by a missile. So it's just it's tough. It's tough, and it's just like, do you let this happen to these people? Imagine if you're just there in your apartment, and all of a sudden your apartment building gets hit by a rocket. I mean, what a if you even survive it. I mean, imagine surviving a missile attack. Imagine telling that story to your grandkids at the dinner table. Like, oh yeah, remember that one year when Russia invaded us? Or 2 years or 3 years? Yeah, we got hit by a rocket that year. You'd probably be like, well, thank God for the United States and Europe and all these other countries helping us, because if not, we'd be part of Russia right now. They would have taken us over. And we'd be literally like under their regime, and like we'd be having to follow their orders. Well, who knows what'll happen in the future? Who knows what time will tell? But like, if a country takes you over that was just shooting rockets at you, like who knows what life would be like years later. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. You got to kind of think this stuff through and what might happen to those people. I'll keep you up to date here with everything going on here in our country on a daily basis. Make sure to click the subscribe button down below. If you haven't yet, it's completely free to do so. This way you won't miss out on new videos. I'll keep you up to date here with everything. And new videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, thanks for liking and sharing these videos. You can click here to watch my newest video next. And here is another video about a bill that was just passed by Congress and a deal made with Russia. So click on one of those videos. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.